The second allocation strategy, resource allocation strategy, is a pool based allocation strategy. The OS allocates resources from a common pool of resources. So in case of partition based, what happens? The operating system will make its own decision and it will prepare a transition. It will prepare a partition in which it will put different resources. So in case of partition based allocation, it will put resources and it will make its own decision, and whenever user requests for any kind of resource, it will allocate the entire partition to that particular user program, right? So partition 1, partition 2, these all partitions will be allocated as per the user requirement. But in case what are the advantages of that resource allocation? It is very simple and less overhead, but the very important point, which was resource will be wasted in case of partition based allocation, right? So even though user doesn't require that particular resource, but operating system will allocate that resource to user, right? So to avoid that problem, we one more strategy is used, which is called the pool based allocation. In this, the OS allocates resources from a common pool of resources. What happens here? All the resources are kept in one pool, right? So all the whatever operating system detects in the computer system, those all resources will be kept in a common pool. I'll call it as a common pool, and from this pool the operating system will allocate the different resources to different programs, and it will modify or it will update the resource table, right? So next, it consults the resource table, and when the program makes a request for a resource and allocates resources if it is free, right? So whenever user requests for any kind of resource, first operating system will consult the resource table and it will check the allocation status of those particular resource, whether the allocation status of that particular resource is free or busy. Suppose that the allocation status is busy, then operating system will wait until that resource will get freed up. Once it is free, then operating system will allocate that particular resource to a user program, right? Then it will update. Once it is allocated to a particular user or a user program, then the allocation status of that particular resource will be changed by operating system itself. Okay, so there are many advantages. First we will discuss disadvantage. What is the disadvantage? It incurs, that is the only disadvantage of a pool based allocation, which is it incurs the overhead of allocating and deallocating resources when requested. That means in case of partition based allocation, only one partition is allocated to user program, and operating system will switch itself to execute some other task. But in case of pool based allocation, what happens? Whenever user requests for any kind of resource, then operating system will frequently consult this pool, and it will consult the resource table as well, and it will make the allocation and deallocation as per the status of status of a resource table, right? So here operating system will jump, always it will jump whenever user requests, then it will jump to a pool and it will jump to a resource table. It will check the allocation status, then if it is free, then it will be picked up, that particular user resource will be picked up from the pool and it will be allocated to a user program. Once the user program gets over, then it will be deallocated, and the particular resource will be kept back in a pool. Then again it will modify or update the resource table of that particular resource table by the operating system, right? So that is the only disadvantage. It will continuously or frequently monitor the status of those resources, and whenever the request comes, it will jump to that resource table, check the status, then jump to that pool, common pool of resources, and from that pool a particular resource is allocated to a program, right? Next, what are the advantages here? The big advantage is the resources cannot be wasted. However, it avoids both problems faced by the resource partitioning approach. However, it avoids both the problems faced by the resource partition approach. What are the problems associated with the resource partition approach? In case of resource partition, wastage of resources bound to happen, because even the user doesn't want any kind of resource, then that particular partition may have that particular resource, and it will be allocated to user, right? But in case of pool based allocation, there is no partition. All the resources are kept in one pool, in one area. From them the operating system will decide as per the requirement of user. If user requires 2 MB of memory, only 2 MB of memory is picked up from the pool, and it will be allocated to a user program, right? So the first problem with the partition based allocation can be avoided, that is, the resources will not be wasted. An allocated resource is not wasted. That is the one advantage, biggest advantage you can say, compared to partition based allocation. Second one, whenever user requests for extra memory, in case of partition based, that facility is not allowed in case of partition based allocation. But in case of pool based, even user requests some more extra memory, then that memory will be allocated from this common pool. A resource requirement can be met if a free resource exists from a common pool of resources, right? So even if user requests for some more disks or some more monitors, then it will consult the resource table, and it will check the location status of that particular resource, and it will consult the pool, and that particular resource will be allocated to a user program, right? So both the disadvantages of partition based allocation is overcome in case of pool based allocation, right? So these are the two strategies which operating system will use to allocate different resources to user programs. Next, moving to the next slide, we'll discuss the third operation in detail, that is security and protection. It is already discussed in as a task, operation of an OS, like non-interference, right? So where authorization is provided, right? But here he has put one more example. You can write the same you can write the same explanation. You can give the same explanation to this security and protection as well. Operating system must ensure that no person can illegally use programs and resources in the system or interfere with them, right? So operating system must ensure that no person can illegally use programs and resources in the system and interfere with them, right? So it has to provide a security to the user data, right? So if you have a laptop, and if you have some important data in your laptop, so I cannot interfere in your system, and I cannot steal the data, right? So like that, operating system will provide a platform to give a security to your data. Next, the security function counters threats of illegal use or interference that are posed by persons or programs outside the control of operating system. What do you mean by this? Security. What do you mean by security? Security function counters. It means it facilitates the threats of illegal use, right? So if I want to use your laptop, the data hidden in your laptop illegally, then that can be avoided. So that can be avoided by providing a security to the system in the form of a password. Illegal use of interference that are posed by persons or programs outside the control of operating system, right? So operating system can provide authorization to different users. Only that particular user can access the data which is hidden in the computer program, right? Next, what do you mean by protection? Protection function counters similar threats posed by its users, right? So even so operating system will provide a platform to protect the user data even from the laptop user, you can say. Okay, so in the diagram you can see the computer system which has many resources, which have many resources, right? A user uh, one user can give authentication to a different user. Once the authentication is given to a second user, then only the second user can enter or invade into other system, other users computer system, and he can access the data, programs or resources which are available in the second person computer system, right? So, or a hacker, right? So as I discussed in case of non-interference, a hacker, one who is sitting outside the computer system, even he can even he can steal the data which is available in one's computer system when that computer system is connected to an internet, right? So operating system should provide a security to protect the data even from the inside user, right, and outside user, right? So it has to provide a security and it has to protect the data by uh, giving the facility to set a passwords, and by giving a facility to install the antiviruses and all, right? So this is the third operation of an OS in detail, right? So these three completes the operation of an OS. Next we'll discuss, next we will see the three important terms which are associated with the operating system. The first one is efficiency, second one is system performance, and third one is user service. First we will see what is an efficiency. The way to evaluate efficiency of use of a resource is to see how much of resource is unused or wasted, right? So sometimes user will request for some amount of memory or some amount of resources, then OS has to check how much amount of that particular resource is utilized efficiently by the user program, right? And it has to continuously monitor it, otherwise it will be the efficiency of the resources, we can say, is reduced, and in the amount of resource that is used. So what he is telling here is used and the wasted, right? So used and the wasted, it's this ratio gives you the efficiency, right? So let me say if wasted, I can put in this form or in the other form also, that is wasted in the numerator and used in the denominator, then we have to get a certain percentage, then we will say the efficiency of that particular resource is that much. Let us say used is 70%, and sorry, used is 30%, and how much we are wasting in 100% is 30, right? So if I find the ratio, whatever ratio, let us say some x percentage, I don't want to calculate that, okay? If I say some x percentage, if I get, then I can say the efficiency of that particular resource is x, right? So if it is 15%, then if it is 15%, you will get around 40%. 40% you will get, right? So only 40% of that particular resource is utilized, and rest 60% it is not utilized. So here if I can say that particular resource is not efficiently utilized, or 100% it is utilized, okay? Check how much of it is put productive use, that's it. How much percentage of that particular resource is utilized properly. As an example of efficiency, consider use of a CPU. Some amount of CPU time is wasted because the CPU doesn't have enough work to do. All the time CPU will not be busy, right? So sometime CPU may find itself idle, so in such case I can say CPU is not utilized properly or 100%, right? So even it will take some rest, even you need some rest, no, like that your CPU will also take some amount of time as a rest, then then he can continue with its own work, right? So even I can say, yeah, like a human being, none of the devices, or you can take anything in the nature, nothing is 100% efficient, right? Next, this happens when all users, when CPU time gets wasted, that I am explaining. This happens when all user processes in the system are either performing IO operations or waiting for the user to supply a data, right? So when the program is getting executed, let us say when the program is getting executed, when the program prompts you to input something from the keyboard, right? Until and unless you enter unless you enter some data through the keyboard, then processor will be waiting, right, until you enter some data, right? Once the data is entered, that then it will start execution and it will finish off the execution of program, right? So until and unless you enter the data, it will not process the further program, right? So in that case, CPU, I can say, idle. And when it is doing some input output operation, if it is sending some data to a monitor, right, so in that case it is not doing any much operation of processing, right? So in that case, I can say CPU time is little wasted, you can say, right? So it is not CPU time is not wasted for a large amount of percentage, large amount, right? So it will be wasted for a little amount, you can say. Of the CPU time that is used, some amount of time is used by the OS itself in performing interrupt servicing and scheduling. Scheduling also requires a processing time, right? OS itself, because whenever the computer system is booted, right, so OS is sitting in a read-only memory, because read-only memory is a non-volatile memory, right? So I do not want to I do not want to lose the operating system, right? So that particular operating system will be stored in read-only memory, right? So whenever computer is turned on, this read-only the OS present in the read-only memory gets it is brought into the central processor unit, and central processor unit starts executing the operating system, right? Because operating system is a software, right? So it will also take some amount of CPU time to execute itself, right? So in performing interrupt servicing in the sense checking the devices, different devices which are connected to a computer system, this is a kind of interrupt servicing itself, right? And scheduling, that we have already discussed in case of process management or program management, right? So even operating system will take some amount of CPU time for its own execution. So I can call it as OS overhead. So this constitutes the overhead of OS operation, right? Next, the remaining CPU time is used for executing the user processes. This we have already seen. Once the operating system boots up, then it starts executing the user processes, and it will bring those user processes to CPU, and CPU starts executing those user processes, right? So for today's class only, this efficiency is we will stop the class at this point. We will discuss other two aspects, that is system performance and user service, in next class. Okay, thank you.